Now, you guys know how anybody that watches this show,
Right.
okay, at any point over the last several years knows that I have a love for J.J. McCarthy.
Okay, I know where we're going.
I think he is the greatest quarterback ever to play at Michigan. Can we just, first with that statement, can we go on record here?
Yes.
How do you feel about that statement in and of itself?
Play for Chad Henne is tough. It's tough. I'm a Chad guy. But in terms of what he accomplished, like it's hands down. JJ did it. No one did it at his level. Even Chad Henne himself told me that JJ was number one. So, yes, I agree with you.
I'll tie him with Brian Griese. Both won a championship. Both, in my eyes, are phenomenal Michigan quarterbacks. But I love those guys as well. John Navarre. The list goes on and on. Chad Henne.
I love Brian Griese, too. Like,
Not even on the list.
Yeah, like, nah.
You won a championship.
I understand. I'm not talking about winning.
Right.
I'm talking about the best player at that position was J.J. McCarthy. If you go through Michigan quarterbacks, now specifically
better than Harbaugh?
He's better than Jim Harbaugh.
Better numbers?
Not numbers.
I don't know about numbers.
So what are you talking about then?
I think he's a better quarterback.
I said championships. You said that don't count. I said numbers. You said that don't count.
He is a better athlete and can do more things at the quarterback position than any other quarterback in Michigan history. He has also won more games, has a better winning percentage than any quarterback ever to play
That's
at
a
Michigan.
Fact. There you go. Rest your laurels on that.
Well, if you want to listen, if you want to sit here and fight about semantics, that's fine. I know what my eyes
Well, I'm
tell
not
me.
going to fight. I'm just
Well,
busting
I
your
know
chops.
it's dumb though. It's a dumb thing to say.
Okay. Whatever you say.
Right. It's a dumb thing to say.
I like the groundhog.
JJ's number one. JJ's number one.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to conduct the show here.
At the end of the day, it's about winning. And J.J. McCarthy has done that in spades. He did it as a junior. I mean, as a freshman, he did it. He did it last year, and then he definitely did it this year at the highest level. They won the national championship. So you're absolutely right. I mean, we judge Tom Brady. We call him the greatest of all time, not because he's an athlete, not because he's out there mixing it up like Patrick Mahomes. We call him the greatest of all time because of what? Stats, numbers, and championships. So I agree.
Okay.
I agree with you.
So one of the things that I've also said is that, and people may believe this is dumb, and I've already gotten the dumb hate on the thing, and that's fine. I've also said that I think when it's all said and done, J.J. McCarthy will be the number one player selected in the draft. I am not the only one. Here is Jim Harbaugh earlier today on the Colin Cowherd Show.
I can ask you about J.J. McCarthy as a kid. How do you think he'll do? What does he bring to the table that maybe I can't see as a TV viewer?
Arm talent, athleticism, it factor, winning with numbing repetition. Don't be surprised when he goes to he's the number one quarterback off the board. That's my prediction right now. When people get a load of JJ and what he, how he can throw the ball, how he spins it, his athleticism, his intelligence, talk about it factor, he's got it, the competitiveness that he has. And they get around him and they really start digging in and they start talking to him. That's an early prediction for the 2024 NFL draft.
Small last thing, and again, that was courtesy of the Colin Cowherd Show from earlier today. Small little caveat to this. If Jim Harbaugh didn't truly believe that, I think he just says, love J.J. McCarthy. This guy's the ultimate competitor. Whoever takes him in the draft is going to get a really great player, and they will never regret it. If he didn't believe it. So that's my caveat. Braylon Edwards.
I'll start here. He's coached JJ for the better part of the last 3 years. JJ won a national title for him, and JJ's already been called a first-round quarterback. What else was Jim Harbaugh going to go on that show and say once asked about JJ McCarthy? Anything else would have been blasphemous. And I believe there's an element. He believes in JJ. He knows if JJ gets in the right system. He believes in JJ. JJ just won him a national championship to a certain extent. So he has to say that. Lloyd Carr called me the best player in the country.
You were.
True, but I mean.
And you went number 3 overall.
But you've seen him appreciate that. But you've seen him double down on Jim Harbaugh's done it before. He's doubled down on Jabril Peppers, Rashawn Gary, his players. He'll talk about them. He'll big them up. So I think that's what a coach is supposed to do. Now, is he right?
And you did, by the way, have interviews with the team that had the #1 overall
True.
pick. So what Lloyd Carr said was not just a bunch of coach speak.
Okay.
He was speaking the truth.
Okay, I appreciate that. Bad example. So I stricken that from the record books. But I think it's one situation where there's some elements of that is true, because you have to interview. When JJ does the interview process at the draft, when he goes and visits these teams, he's going to knock that out the park. I mean, this kid is all class. He's a great kid. He's dialed in. He does his research. So he'll wow them with that. He's a hell of an athlete. You know, you can make a case that he's next to Jaden Daniels, who had 1,000 yards rushing. He's the best quarterback athlete in this draft. You can make that argument. He has the big arm. You'll see that when he does the camp. So he'll be able to play himself into a more favorable position with the scouting combine and then Michigan's pro day. But to draft him over quarterbacks like Caleb Williams, and look, I know you don't like Caleb Williams the most, but just look at it's tough to draft a kid with no numbers over a kid with all the numbers. A kid that won the Heisman, a kid that everybody's calling a generational talent. It's hard to jump that. When you look at his numbers, it's not all about numbers, as you said, the math. But when you're looking at a kid, like JJ had, 24 touchdowns this year? Or 25? He's never thrown over 3,000 yards. Yeah, he doesn't use his legs enough, I think, in estimation. So to jump guys like him and Drake May, and he can jump Jaden Daniels, I'll give you that. It's just a tough road, Ryan, for me to see him going #1 overall when I hadn't seen consistent, great quarterback play.
Small caveat, Maz, before we get to you, I'm sorry. First quarterback off the board. Maybe the Bears stay at 1.
Okay.
Maybe the Bears hear Caleb Williams. He doesn't want to go to Chicago. Maybe they take a Marvin Harrison and pair him up with Justin Fields. So first quarterback off the board, if that's a fair caveat. Tom?
Do you believe he'll be a first-round pick? I'm asking Braylon, not you, right? Do you believe he'll be a first-round pick? And if so, he will be the first Michigan player to go in the first round, offensive player, since you.
Offensive skill player.
Since you.
Oh, wow. Damn. Braylon strikes again. If I'm being honest, I don't think he's necessarily a lock for first round right now. I think, and based on this, when you look at a quarterback, you look at consistency. You look at quarterbacks being able to win games. You look at quarterbacks being able to drive the ball down the field. You see a couple things like that. You look for the numbers. I mean, we play and they play now in college football. Every quarterback can get 30 touchdowns. At any school, 30 touchdowns. 4,000 yards used to seem like, what, he had 4,000? Now 4,000 is the number. It's the average. You know, Cass is throwing for 5,000. So I think right now, based on his college career and based on his numbers, he's like a tweener. I think he's somewhere at the back of the first round, somewhere at the beginning of the second round. But it goes back to the combine, the interviews. How is he going to run? How is he going to throw? What does he look like? How confident is he when he goes through his process? People play their way, run their way, lift their way, interview their way up into into the top 10. I mean, I've seen it all. You see it all the time. So I think he's teetering on into the first, beginning of the second. But you're talking about in January. He's got a lot of time to move that needle from now to then.
Yeah. So if he goes on the back end of the first, that means he's going to a good team. That means he's going to a playoff team. So let's go to the playoff teams.
Yeah.
Cleveland, they're not going to take him. They got Deshaun Watson. Houston, they're not going to take him. They got C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, they got Baker. Will they take him? Possibly.
Baker's
the Rams,
cheap.
they got Stafford. Will they take him? Sure.
But yeah.
Why not?
100%.
Why not? Those teams.
It's not
Then if you
bad.
go on San Francisco, they're not going to take him. They got Brock Purdy. Unless they tell him Brock Purdy that, Kansas City ain't taking him.
But here's the thing, too, though. It goes to
Lions aren't taking him.
It goes to what Mike Tannenbaum has always told us. Like, you know, if you don't have the guy, if you're not necessarily counting, what's the problem in drafting a quarterback?
Right.
Like, for the 49ers,
Yeah.
like, Brock Purdy's year 2. Is he getting paid at the end of this year? No. Brock Purdy's not going to. They may do something because he's not.
He's got to get a raise.
He's got to get a raise. So, nah, that won't be San Fran because they got a raise. They'll pay him.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be San Fran.
I think Rams and Bucks are good back-end teams to look at.
Go back to San Fran. It's very interesting. Brock Purdy hasn't looked great in either one of the playoff games that they played in, correct? Like, he didn't look that good against the Green Bay Packers.
Second halves, yes.
Well, second half to a certain extent, but with his legs. With his legs against the Detroit Lions. He had the one drive against the Green Bay Packers. Ryan, what if Brock Purdy goes into this game and, for lack of a better word, poops the bed? Like, and you're the 49ers, and you're like, and this is the guy we're supposed to pay. I think this game determines what the San Fran's going to do with the quarterback play. But going to a good team, going to a good spot, that's what JJ needs. He needs to be in a good system. Is he the quarterback that I think just come to a team and take over? I don't think so. But there's not too many of those that exist. You put him in the right system, you get him to a good team, a good structure, a good organization. He could very well definitely be what you did say, though, the best quarterback in this draft when their career's over.
Is Eric Bieniemy still the offensive coordinator in Washington? Do we know that or not?
He hasn't been changed, but he ain't going to last.
Okay.
That's going to be something new there.
Yeah,
I look at what happened with Houston last year, too. Defensive-minded head coach, you bring in the right offensive coordinator, and you draft a quarterback. I could see the Washington Commanders taking him at 2. They've got their defensive head coach in Dan Quinn. You bring in an offensive coordinator and a guy like J.J. McCarthy to compete in that NFC East division. I could absolutely see that being the pick at 2. I could see him being the pick at 3 to the New England Patriots. You go Michigan, Tom Brady, Michigan. Maybe there's some sort of nostalgia. Yeah. They absolutely are going to take a quarterback there. And I just think like Jim Harbaugh, everything that I say, and I don't remember what I said, if it was October or November, but whenever I said that J.J. McCarthy was going to be the number 1 pick of the draft or the number 1 quarterback off the board, I firmly believe wherever he's picked, he's going to be the best quarterback in this draft. I firmly believe that. And just like Jim Harbaugh said, though, it's not so much about now. It is about when this kid gets in front of these scouts and general managers and coaches. He just has that it factor that will be so impressive to them that they won't be able to help but want to be around him. And, compare that with just the pure talent aspect of Caleb Williams. And whether or not you believe Caleb Williams, the news yesterday that he doesn't want to go to Chicago, I want your thoughts on that as well, because he's not the first quarterback that has ever said, I don't want to go to X place. We'll talk about that next.
Yeah.